so are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Alright, thank you. I love the spirit. Alright, firstly, thank you so much everyone for making the time, especially it's Friday and then it's like 9 to 1. But you know, the fact that you are here, I really hope that you can stay committed throughout the session to learn about how we can master impactful presentation. But before that, I just want to manage your expectation. We won't look into the content, like what you should put in, what you should not. We'll be focusing solely on like how can we present our content to make sure that it's effective, and most importantly, it's readable by our audience, and also it's easy for our audience to follow through our story when we're presenting the slide. Okay? So all clear? So before we start, I want you to imagine this situation, alright? Okay, so imagine that you're in a boardroom, you are proposing or pitching a new set of values to your client. So you said, Madam Sarah, you know, we have engaged with your employees, and this is what we get, and this is what we want to pitch to you. The new values for your company. We have value 1, start and end with customer, 2, embrace a pioneering spirit, yada yada yada. Alright? I'll walk you through the double click of each values and what it means for each values, alright? So when we talk about start and end with customer, it's about, you know, amplifying the voice of our customer, we resolve customer needs, alright? When we talk about embracing a pioneering spirit, it's all about pushing boundaries and also exploring new possibilities. Okay? So this is situation 1. Alright. So now I want you to imagine situation 2. Alright? Madam Sarah, I want to share with you some of the insights that we have gathered from your employees, and then based on the insight that we have gathered, we have come up with this set of values. Alright? So value 1, value 2, yada yada yada. We'll go through the double click of each value statement. Statement 1, start and end, yada yada. Statement 2, embrace a pioneering spirit, yada yada. Which situation do you think would hook your audience or would hook the attention of Miss Sarah?
I would say number 2.
Why is that?
I think that last line, when they talk about we fail fast and learn fast, that fail fast is like a hook, like, oh, usually we want to succeed, but when you, I guess, put a contradictory word or, yeah, fail, for example, then they're hooked, I guess, yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. What about, that's a good point in terms of how we present some of our content, right? What about in terms of the look and feel? What's the difference between the first situation, the first set of presentation, and the second set of the presentation? Okay, I'll give you some time to think. What's the difference between those two?
Like the slide before this,
Alright?
and then this slide. That's the difference, is it?
Yes. What's the difference in terms of the design? The content is the same,
Oh,
technically.
okay.
But what about in terms of the design? And which one do you think actually evoke more emotion when you look at it?
These ones, the ones with humans in it,
Alright.
those with people in it.
Okay, so we have images of people. And when we talk about values, it's about behavior, right? And it's related to people. No worries, don't worry. There will be wrong or right answer. It's all about giving your opinion, okay? So yep, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing that. Exactly. So that's why it's important for us as a consultant when we present ideas. It's not only focusing on like the content, but also how we package our content to our audience, so that we can get their attention, get their engagement, and mostly get their inputs as well, so that you know we can get the discussion that we want to for us to achieve our goal. Alright. So before we move on, just want to share with you some quotes from Steve Jobs. You know, he's known for his innovation, but also he always think about design. But not only in a form of aesthetic, making sure that you know it's beautiful. For instance, like you see iPhone, right? It's beautiful, it's sleek, but also the usability of iPhone. So that's why when we talk about design, it's not only about like the look and feel of our deck, our presentation deck, but also how we use the design to actually make sure that our audience understand the message, or understand the purpose of what we're trying to share with them. Alright? So, and as you know, and as you experience later on, Bharat and also Megat, and also James Ryan, is that in consulting, PowerPoint is your bread and butter. Day in, day out, you'll be working on a PowerPoint. Because with PowerPoint, we use that to pitch our ideas to our customer, and that's how we get our monies in. And with PowerPoint, we also use that to deliver some of our work to them, playbook, reports. So that's why for consultant, basically, the entire consulting industry relies on PowerPoint. And when we have a good PowerPoint also, our form of love language is making sure that everything is aligned and also consistent. Alright? So, everyone, welcome to our workshop today, Dare to Impress, where today we'll be understanding some skills, some knowledge on how we can master impactful presentation. Okay, so a bit of myself. I've been working for about 8 years, including Deloitte and also my previous organization. So I had my fair shares in terms of creating PowerPoint deck to the board members, to the C-levels, or even to our internal team. Alright, so if you ask me which one would I prefer, presentation or PowerPoint deck, 10 times I would prefer actually creating PowerPoint deck. In terms of presentation, I leave it to Sarah. Alright, so I'm a mother of 3. Oh my god, it's like shocked. No, I have one baby daughter and also 2 for kids. So those are all my babies. I'm glad that you look shocked, unless you're like, oh, okay, makes sense. Alright.
Gosh.
And I enjoy creative work. As I mentioned, I prefer doing presentation deck, because for me, I feel that's very therapeutic. But also at the same time, it challenges you to think about how can I convey this message effectively through some of the visuals, some of the data visualization. Alright. And then also, just a bit of a fun fact, my power-up song is Gemilang. So whenever I feel nervous, to go to my client's place, I would shout or sing Gemilang in my car, just to, bring my energy up. Alright.
I never knew that's your power-up song.
Right, it's my fun fact for the day. Now you know me. Alright. So now let's get to know you. Alright. So I would like for you to share your name, your department. I missed something, which is like how long have you been here? What's your power-up song? And also, what's your expectation from this session? Because you say kind of a bit of done? Oh, okay.
Sure. So my name is Mazman. I'm also in WT, same with Syahira Amanie. And my power-up song depends on my mood, but okay lah, let's say today I'm wearing baju Melayu.
Ramadan feel lah.
Actually, Sinaran from Sheila Majid.
Wow, okay.
That's a good.
Oh, I see. Oh, the baju Melayu doesn't stop you from dancing. That's good. Okay.
And
What's
my
your expectation?
expectation from the session is, I would say to make, proposal winning PowerPoints, Yeah.
Alright. And you're currently working on a few BDs, right? Like
Yes.
EPF, MBSB.
So yeah, I think some of the lessons and skills I gained from here, I can definitely apply in these slides. Albeit last minute, but yeah.
No worries. You have a long way to go and more BDs and also, presentation deck to build. Alright? Thank you so much, Mazman. What about you, Jingswan?
Alright, so hello everyone, my name is Ting Xuan, or you can call me Melody if it's easier for you. Okay, I'm from HRT, it's also from HC. And then, okay, I don't really have some power-up song, but if you're asking me now, let me think of one song. Maybe fight song bah. Yeah, right.
Fight song. Oh, this is the fight. Okay, makes sense.
Okay, right, I don't have anything in mind actually. Okay. Okay, so what is my expectation from the session actually is, because now I am on my OJT object training, so I'm trying to come to one point where I'm stuck at how can I present the PowerPoint well to the client, because I need to help out with the presentation deck, right? So yeah, this is my expectation. I have to learn more from here.
Alright, thank you so much. Okay. Sarah?
I am working in WT together with Amanie. I think Mazman is as well as my team. I feel Babarat, he's our intern as well. He's joined our team. I just met him this morning, so thank you for saying hi. I've been in human capital for 4 years now, 4-ish. My power up song, I think when I heard Amanie say Gemilang, and when I heard you say Sinar, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just choose a Malay song. My 100% This Is Not a Lie, Fikirkan Boleh.
Oh, okay,
Right.
that's a good song.
What? Amo? I think that's the name of the guy. I don't know what's his actual name. Like, tu nama, I think that's a nama biama. But it always gets me to like, can I do this? Whenever I hear that song, all the time. I highly recommend.
Okay, definitely gonna put that in my playlist. Alright, thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing. What about you, Bara?
So hi, my name is Bharat. I just joined this Monday. So I'm currently under the workforce transformation also. And I don't have like specific power up song, but I'm a Kendri Lama fan. So usually I listen to ADHD or Chapter 6. It's those songs are like very not many people know the song, but it's like kind of very close to me because it's like reminds you that no matter how far you fight for, how big you dream for, in the end it's all what matters is your own well-being and also your own happiness. Yeah, so it's like a kind of like a reminder song for me. And what I expect from this session is that I really want to build a good slide because I'm really not used to work in the creativity part before. I was previously intern under Big Four.
I see.
Yeah. So here I wish to work in more into develop my creativity part
Okay.
by presenting about my
Okay, thank you so much, Bara, for sharing. Kendrick Lamar is the one that did the recent Super Bowl.
yes.
Okay, cool. So at least I'm not that, you know.
You tell me, Amanie.
Alright, cool. Good to know, guys. Good to know that. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your expectation. I hope by the end of the session, you know, we'll be able to meet some of the things that you're looking for. If not, you know, feel free to reach out to me or any of the seniors here so that we can also, you know, guide you personally on how we can better, present some of your ideas in the slide form. Alright, so let us do a bit of an icebreaker where we'll be playing a game called This or That. Alright, I'm pretty sure a lot of you might know already this game. So basically what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you two slide design with the same content but being presented differently. So you have to choose which one is better, whether it's this or that. Okay, so let us go with our first design. Which one is better? Is it this or is it that? That.
That.
Okay, why is it Farhan?
I think it's the visual behind supporting like what we are trying to like come up with. Because if you see at the context that we are presenting to the client, they're like from STP.
Alright,
Yeah.
cool.
So it's kind of like give them the sense of okay, I can personally can connect with the slide.
Okay, cool. Alright, another strong point about that, that's what I call a good answer, Bharat. But another strong point about this as well is that where we have actually icons to support, you know, the topics, the subtopics that we have here. For instance, we have leadership interview and we have icons that is showcasing leadership interview. So that when people look at it in one go, they know, oh, we're talking about interviews without looking at the headers here, alright? Okay, so let us look at the second slides. Is it this or is it that?
This.
This. Okay, and why is that?
It's more visually appealing.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. What about you, Megat?
I think just having the different themes blocked out like that rather than listed out feels a lot more accessible.
And it's much better aligned also.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my god.
Really, I have the eyes on consultant already. Okay, you don't need the training already. Okay, so exactly what you all say is correct. It's all better aligned. As you can see, you know, the straight line here. You can see even the spacing also is all equally spaced. And also like Sarah and also Megat mentioned about the images, right? It's not only visually appealing, but it's also supported, you know, the text that we put in here. Alright? Okay. So the last one, is it this or is it that?
This.
Okay, why is that? Lingshan, would you like to give it a try?
I feel like the way it aligns and the visual aids to show the presentation are very helpful in getting the info easily.
Alright, that's true. So in terms of alignment, that's one thing, and also how we present the data, the numbers, right? Instead of the usual, okay, we just have a number at the front, we supported that number with a pie chart, alright? Not saying that this is wrong, this is right, but in terms of making it visually appealing for audience, it will be the design on this, alright? So this is is exactly what we'll be covering today. So what I would want for you to walk out from this session, and also as what you have shared in your expectation earlier, right, is first for you to be able to structure and also organize your information so that it's clear, it's logical, it's easy for your audience to follow your thought process, your storyline through visuals. I also want you to be able to understand, some of the design principles, visual hierarchy, so that it can invoke audience engagement, and also most importantly ensuring that it's easy for the audience to read your slide. And then lastly, we're also going to talk about standardization technique, where we want to make sure that all the slides that we produce is consistent, and also it will help with efficiency, and most importantly, because we carry the name of Deloitte, right, we also want to showcase our professionalism through our work. Right, so all clear so far?
Yeah.
Sick. Okay, good. So how we're going to achieve that is through the agenda that I have lined up for today. So we're going to start off with understanding your purpose. So it's important actually before you start your slide, we understand the why of creating that document, alright? And then we're going to talk about standardization, where we will talk a lot and discuss a lot on consistency as well as efficiency. And then we're going to go to visuals. Sorry, it's a bit of a start actually. Structure first, where we're going to share with you how you can organize your content for maximum impact, and most importantly for your audience to be able to follow you. And then lastly, we're going to talk about visuals, where we're going to look into the design and also readability of how you present some of your information. Alright? Okay. So we're going to gamify this whole experience. I'm pretty sure Jing Swen and also Mekat has really experienced this before, and I hope you can keep that momentum, because there are points to be collected. So how you can earn points is that by answering some of the discussion questions, and then also contribute to any improvement ideas for a slide. And then lastly, for you to also answer questions. And also throughout this session, we'll be doing a lot of hands-on activity. And then we would like for you to also showcase your work and also share your thought process on how you come about certain goals, so that everyone can share their feedback. At the end of the day, you get some nuggets that you can apply in your day-to-day work. Alright? Okay. A bit of a house rules, I would like for you, I understand that all of us are quite busy, BDs, project work and whatnot, but I hope you can give your 100% attention throughout the session, because at the end of the day, the knowledge is to benefit ourselves. And then I hope you can engage throughout all the discussion during the session, and also be prepared to share, and free yourself from any distraction. If you need to take a call, go ahead, but please come back. I would really appreciate that. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we'll be doing a lot of sharing of our work and all, so I hope that we can be open and also respect each other's opinion. Alright? Okay, I encourage if you disagree with certain suggestion, because at the end of the day, it's all about learning and growing. Alright, so are you ready?
Yes.
We're ready.
Okay, so let us start with our first segment, which is understanding our purpose. So, we have different levels of, I would say, competency in terms of PowerPoint as well as experience. So, I encourage all of you also to share your own best practices as well, your own stories as well, so that we can learn from each other. So, before you start a PowerPoint deck, what would you usually do? Or what are the questions that you would ask yourself?
Who am I creating this for?
Right? That's good.
So target audience.
Okay,
What is the flow for you
okay,
to present?
that's true.
What's the narrative that you want to build your slides around?
What is the message that I want to bring out to the audience?
Alright, okay, everyone is correct. And exactly like what you shared, the first two, there's a lot of ways for you to start or question yourself before you create a PowerPoint deck. But two of the main questions that you need to be clear of, as what Sarah mentioned, first is who will be receiving this presentation, which technically our audience. And then also, what is the goal of this presentation? Is it a report presentation or is it a pitching presentation? Alright, because all this will help us shape, the amount of information that we put in, how we present our ideas. Alright, so it's important for us to be clear with the intention or the purpose of the deck by answering these two questions. Okay, so again, just to re-emphasize why it's important for us to understand the purpose of creating the deck, because first we want to make sure that there's clarity and also impact from the work that we do or we present to them. So like I said, we can control the amount of information, what sort of information that we put in, and also to ensure efficiency, so that from the beginning you are clear with your purpose. So any way that you present your this information is consistent, and also to ensure that when your slide is catered to your audience, you can ensure that they are engaged throughout the presentation and also engage with the content that you are presenting to them. Alright? So there are different types of PowerPoint decks. We have reporting decks, which is data heavy. You put in more details because people want to read the explanation of certain data that you presented. We also have presentation deck, which is more concise, and then the deck is more of like a support for the presenter. Okay, and then you also have sales and also pitch deck, where it's more persuasive and more visual that you put in, so that you can help the audience to think about some of the proposal that you shared with them. And then you also have training decks, where you have to make sure that all the content is clear, and also a clear flow that you can follow step by step. And then lastly, a decision-making deck, where usually we would share this with our executive level, so when we want to share something with the executive level, we want to make sure there's minimal clutter so that we can protect their focus. Okay, so now that you understand there's various types of PowerPoint deck, so let us look at some of the audience type, and also what are the story or what are the content that you can structure to put in your presentation deck. So for instance, if you are talking to executive and also C-suite, they want high-level insight and very minimal details, because they have a lot of things in their mind, right? So you want to make sure that they stay focused throughout your presentation. And then when we talk about technical teams, okay, so just to share some of from my experience, like working with engineers from this client of mine, they need very detailed presentation deck, because why? They like to read. So although there's a presenter, sharing, but at the end of the day, they still like to look at what is being presented and being shared on the PowerPoint deck. And then when we talk about audience that are clients or our stakeholder, it's important for us to share storytelling, and also for us to make sure that they understand the benefit for them. And then lastly, when we talk about making a presentation deck for general employees, it's all about clarity and making sure that we can hook them so that they can stay engaged throughout the presentation. Okay, so some other question that you can ask before building your deck: how much detail is necessary? Okay, so it's important again, as I emphasized earlier, right, to understand your audience, understand the purpose. And sometimes, yes, we did say, for executive level, it's important for you to make sure minimal information, but once you get to really know them, cater your presentation deck to them. So just sharing some of my experience, our chief of this client's company, so he's an ex-engineer. So when you present your ideas, it needs to show a clear flow, 1, 2, 3. It needs to be as detailed because he likes to read. Right? Although he's at C-level, but because of his background as an engineer, so he has that certain ways of reading certain information. And it will take some time for you to really know them, because you have to present to them and see how they react to some of our presentation. Okay? And then also ask yourself whether should this slide be self-explanatory or is it presenter-driven? Should I just say, this is about aligning content with audience expectation, or give you 5 minutes for you to read? Or would you be presenting the content so that people can further understand what you're putting on your presentation deck? Alright, so some of the common pitfalls that we tend to do, right, is that sometimes we are not clear about the audience, so we put too much detail or probably too little detail. Alright, or another thing is that misalignment of deck style and also audience need. Imagine that you are presenting to your C-level, right, but you are putting like cartoons, so probably it's not suitable for your audience. Okay, so what are some of the best practices, right? So that's why when we work on the project, there's always your teammate. So make sure that you test your slide with your teammate first to make sure that, does it make sense? Is the information clear? Do you think this will, go through with our executive? Alright. So with that, let us do a bit of a game to test your understanding on this segment, right? So we have a persona here. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute for you to read about this persona. says. Bold it. Are we clear? We're done? Alright. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to show you 2 slides with 2 different designs. And I want you to see which design suits this persona here, which is Mr. John Maxwell. Right? So let us look at the first design. So we have here an illustration of how the activity will look like throughout the months from August to March. Alright. And then we are also showing, some examples on how we're going to monitor and also evaluate the effectiveness of the program. Okay. Don't look at the content, really just look at how the information is being presented, and also think about the persona that we showed just now. Right? So we're going to look at the second design. Alright? Something a bit more visual, not as detailed. Okay? Alright. So let us discuss between option A and option B. Which one do you think would resonate most with John? And why?
Can you go back to persona page?
Can. Sure. Alright. We go back to persona
This
page.
is real quick.
Alright.
Okay, I have made my choice.
Okay. Good?
Okay.
Alright. Okay, between A or B, do you think which one will resonate most with John?
B.
Okay, B, why is B?
Because it's more simple,
Mm-hmm.
and then since it's like not really detailed, people can look at it like I look at it, I can still understand, I can get a short glimpse on everything. I don't have to like read through everything. And then if I look at John's persona also, he's not from a detail like engineering or like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's like from HR only. So I think you prefer like this kind of one, the one that is simple and clear to you.
Okay, alright. Thank you so much, Bora. Okay?
I actually think it's A
Mm-hmm.
because although he is, head of HR and like Bara mentioned, although he's C-suite and not from an engineering background, I think why I would still choose A is because his persona listed 28 years of experience, both at a local and global level. I think he would appreciate a more detailed explanation of how the program would be rolled out. Mainly because with his experience, he can, I guess, share his input rather than, during the whole presentation for slide B, he will be asking a lot more questions and might interrupt the flow of the presentation. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Sarah, choose one?
I feel like it's option A because the personas had mentioned that we prefer self-explanatory on the slide, which you can get more info from the slide. And then apart from that is consistency. I feel like the way it presented in option A is much more consistent than the option B where the timelines go with the pictures. I feel like it's more, he will prefer option A more.
Alright. Sarah, would you like to share as well?
I'm gonna go with option B
Mm-hmm.
because we only have 15 minutes
Yeah.
with this guy, and he probably will have questions, and I would rather answer his questions in that 10 minutes than go through a detailed version of option A. So that will be my answer for now, but yeah, that's one reasoning.
Okay. Alright, no worries. So this is where we discuss, alright? So I would say that the best option for Mr. John is actually option A. Okay? So reason being is that because as what mentioned by James Ryan, right? Is that terdepan pula. Okay, is that he did mention that he prefers the slide to be self-explanatory. Yes, we only have 15 minutes. However, imagine if you were to share option B, you would have to explain one by one to him. Alright, in which most probably would exceed the 50 minutes. Alright, if we look at option A, you don't have to be there also actually to explain, because technically you can just take this like, oh okay, I only have 50 minutes, just give me high level, I might just take this and read it on my own, because all the information is there. Alright, so although some of you say that he's quite senior, in his position and whatnot, but because he preferred something that is self-explanatory, which means that we need to put in more details, so that's why option A is the best option. Alright, okay, so sorry about that. So let us look at question 2 and 3. Okay. I think technically 2 and 3, there's some of my responses just now just address 2 and 3 where we talk about customer centric, so about understanding Mr. John. And then any gaps, as I shared, because we said just now, John is someone who prefers self-explanatory. So when we talk about, slide B, it requires someone to explain the details to Mr. John. So those are the gaps that they need to address. So what is the takeaway from this? So first thing first is understand your audience need. Like I mentioned, although in general we say that executive prefer minimal, high-level information, but if you really know, who you are talking to, so it's important for you to tailor, the way you present your information to your audience. Alright, and then also sometimes it's also important for us to remind ourselves. Sometimes, we may understand it on our way, on our lens, but at the end of the day, it may not be able to deliver or go well with our audience. Okay. Alright, so before we deep dive into the 3 elements that I shared earlier, right, in terms of visual, standardization, as well as structure. So, what makes a good slide?
Good alignment.
Good alignment. Love letter, right?
Good
Not love
alignment
letter.
and format.
Love language.
Yes.
Yes. Alright. Thank you, Sarah.
I would say good headers.
Good headers, alright. Okay.
Consistent team.
Okay, consistent team, alright.
Optimal use of the spaces.
Yes, optimal use of spaces. So those are all correct answers, and it falls under these 3 categories on what makes a good slide. First is in terms of standardization. So as you were mentioning, right, optimal use of spaces. So it means that you need to know how much spacing is required so that people can follow the content that you are showing. It also means that when we talk about standardization, is that it has consistent format. It's quite difficult to see now because we only have one slide. But if you look at the slide sorter, that's when you will evaluate whether whether the format all is consistent. All right. And then we also talk about, we will also look into structure. All right. When we talk about structure, there's a clear flow. All right, and the information are organized properly. So as you can see, there's a a distinct headers to explain what is intent of this header, and also as you can see there is a arrow to show the flow of information. It starts with listening tour, and then with listening tour, it starts from listening tour, we synthesize the data, and then eventually we'll go into the master class. Alright, and then lastly, in terms of what makes a good slide, also is in terms of good visuals. So it has good supporting visual, it has clean look, and also consistent color. As you can see, all the images used here is supporting the header that we have here, and as well as the content. And the look is very clean, it doesn't look cluttered. And then consistent color, as you can see, is around the same color palette. Alright, so it's very soothing for the eyes to see. Okay. So, let us look at the first element, which is standardization. So in this segment, we'll be doing a lot of hands-on activity. But before that, can I just ask if you guys are familiar with master slides?
You mean the option, is it?
The options, meaning?
Like, how to say? It's like a fixed template.
So are you familiar with it? Have you ever tried creating your own layout from on the master layout?
In school time.
In school time, alright. Okay, no, the reason is that because I want to gauge so that I know the amount of information to share when I go through the masterclass, in case you guys are all advanced level already, so probably we can skip. Alright. So I can say that a lot of you are familiar with it, know the purpose of it, but probably we may need some what I call hands-on activity and see how we can apply this in our work. Alright. So why is it important and how it benefits us in terms of standardization? First is in terms of consistency. So like what I shared just now, right? It's difficult to see when it's in one slide, but when you put in slide sorter, as you can see, everything is very consistent. Spacing wise is all the same. The color palette is also consistent as well. There's a use of green, there's a use of blue, and consistent across all the deck. Alright? And also when you standardize or create this master layout, right, it can save you time because you don't need to do all this manual formatting. Okay? And especially when you're in crunch time, the last thing you want to do is like take one box at a time and then make sure that everything is aligned. Alright? And then also it reinforces the branding and visual identity. As you can see when you look at this, can you guess what's the customer of this deck?
Maxi!
Oh, great, Sarah! Alright, exactly. So because we're using the color palette from Maxis, okay? And then also, most importantly, it enhances audience trust and professionalism, just like what Waras mentioned earlier, right? It's all about understanding and building connection with our client. Alright, so what are some of the common problems when we talk about standardization? Mismatched font, not even like font type, but also font size. There's so many font sizes, and then also inconsistent spacing and alignment, and also because we don't have a standard layout, so it can be very manual, repetitive, and also it may affect our efficiency in the work that we do. Alright, so what are some of the best practices? So it's for us to create a template so that people can just simply use that template and straight away work on their content, and then also have an established brand compliant font, color, layout and all. We set it up front so that it's easier for people to work based on the reference that we shared in the layout or master slide. Alright, so what is master slide? As what Bharat shared just now. So basically with master slide, it's a single template and it controls the consistency of all the slides. Okay, and then it can help us with our efficiency in terms of how we do work because we already have the master slide prepared, and then also it helps us to save time because you don't have to think about where do I put this, put that, because everything has been determined for you. Alright, so let's set up our master slide. So how we're going to do this is that I'm going to show you first on how we can set up a master slide based on the process or based on the best practices that I know, and then later on, I would like all of you to give it a try on how to create your own master slide. Alright, so I'm just going to sit here. Probably it's going to be a bit difficult for you to see, but just want to go through on how to create a master slide. Alright, so bear with me. Let me just change the setting of this computer. Okay, wait. Duplicate this. Okay. Alright, so usually when it comes to setting your own master slide, right? So imagine this, usually like Sarah also, you can share your experience. When we start a new project, new client, sometimes the project manager will ask us to create a new design PowerPoint template, to fit our customer look and feel branding as well. Sometimes if you are lucky enough, client will give you their own branding guideline, but sometimes you have to do your own research. I would say
that's a bit more black than pink. Maybe them on the stage that's most of us surrounded by darkness. And then and then the words will probably be white in that case. Yeah. So that's just my personal suggestion.
anyone else?
I actually don't mind the loudness of the image. I think that you can work with it. I think that in terms of image, you can maintain the image but don't use the transparency, but play around with the font and create like a placeholder that maybe is like a black box with white font, or like you use back the pink to kind of play around with it. I think you can still probably make it work. I do agree the picture is loud, but I still think that you can kind of work with it, but by focusing on the fonts, like font style and stuff.
Alright, idea.
This is good start, James Wen. Another way actually you can do it, let's say macam like you said that you try to search for a clean image but you can't find any, right? So sometimes what you can do is that, let me just demo, is that you can put either a text box, you know, like just use something like these all text boxes so that the word here will stand out more. Or another way also is that you can put a box and make it gradient transparency. So meaning, for instance, like this is just an example lah. So let's say we go to design, we go to home, view, slide master, and then let's say sometimes when you put it transparent, it doesn't, how to say, it doesn't look visually nice as well. How do what happened to this photo? This one okay? What about this one? Is it locked? Is it? No. Okay. So okay, you already have a layer in front, right? So probably you can just use solid color, for instance, let's say black, and then reduce the transparency, so make it gradient. This one, let's say we take black all the way. This one, this one black, and then reduce the transparency. Then you can have this, or you can remove the shape outline. Then you can put it in front like this, adjust it a bit, play around with this. Maybe you can drag this down a bit, but you can see the line, right?
Yeah, like that. And then you do.
So you pull it a bit, and then you can bring this ke depan.
And that gradient is like, what do you call it this now? Top to bottom gradient, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is another way also of doing it. So you still have, you know, the images here. You know, you still have space for you to put the words, right? And then also because it's not transparent, now it looks more vibrant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Master.
It's really professional.
No, like it's 8 years of experience. Kita hentam with boss lah, apalah. Alright. So okay, great job everyone. And this is our first try in terms of our design work and all. So before we end our first segment, okay. Where's my clicker? Oh no. Alright, no worries.
I didn't need to repeat you on my
No, I didn't.
It's funny.
Okay, no worries. Okay. Alright, another key for us to standardize or make sure alignment is that to have all your power tools in the PowerPoint and your toolbar. So it can save you more time. So what are the power tools that I'm talking about? So let's say if you go to PowerPoint, okay, so these are the things that I put on my toolbar. So how do you put all the items in your toolbar? So go to, arrange, and then right click, and then add to quick access toolbar. But because everything that is here I already put in the toolbar, that's why it's not showing here. But basically what we want to achieve is that quick access to all the key tools to make sure that everything is aligned.
Is it because you're in Slide Master?
If it close,
Maybe you can.
no, I think because all the elements are here already, alright?
Yeah.
So if you know about this, so this is more of a refresher. If let's say you don't know, then this is new knowledge for you. So for instance, rather than like, for instance, let's say we have shape, you know, okay, Okay, so rather than trying to make sure that everything is aligned like this, you can just simply click, control all the shape, select all the shape, and then make sure that it's aligned on the top. Or we want to make sure that the spacing all the same, so distribute horizontally. So you don't have to manually adjust. In the past, you know what I did? I actually create a table, and then just to make sure that everything is aligned. But that was in the past. But when I joined Deloitte, I'm like, there's a power tool that allows you to do that.
I think you have to download that? Like, I feel like you need to get those are shortcut keys, right?
Yeah, I need to download it.
You have to download it and then I forgot how I did it.
Is it? Oh, it's not in PowerPoint already, is it?
It's not readily in PowerPoint. You have to download it from like the PowerPoint website. And they have it.
Okay.
Download it and then you customize with it. And then you just have to know those shortcut keys.
Okay.
I think so.
Alright.
Which you already know, but yes, I understand. This is very important.
Yes. Especially after like you've already done all your work, you already put all the content. The last part is always the formatting part. So this is where all the tools will come in handy lah. Alright? Okay, and another way also, I'm not sure whether you know, but it's something that I also discovered when I joined Deloitte is that how can we adjust the size of this without like in one go. Alright? So in the past what I will do is that I'll choose one by one and then I will adjust the size like this. Okay, but then it overlaps. Okay?
I also want to do it here.
So I discovered that if you put this in group, you know, you can just expand it like this together, and then you can still juggle with the spacing.
Oh yeah, okay.
Alright? So this is one of the tricks as well. Okay? Alright. So before we end so all good so far? Can follow? Okay? Please make sure that you have all those key alignment tools at your toolbars for easy access, and also very, very handy, especially when you want to work really, really fast. Okay? And then another aspect when we talk about standardization is in terms of language and writing style. Very important, US versus UK English. If you use US English, all the way US English. If you use UK, all the way UK. So how do you know when to use UK or US? It depends on the client. If let's say we work for a global client in which when we look at their website, they use UK English, so we use UK. But I work with a Philippine company, they use US. Alright? So it depends on your client.
It depends on which country is being colonized.
That is also correct. Alright? And also make sure consistency and standardization in terms of the sentence structure. So if let's say you have points, right? And then it starts with a verb, with ing. Make sure that all the sentences in that bullet points start with ing as well. So for instance, writing clearly, structuring logically, presenting effectively. Alright? This is another form of standardization that you have to make sure when you put in your content into that. Alright? And then also in terms of numbering and formatting. So that you can either, if let's say you decided to use numbers. If you want to use bullet points, use bullet points. And then also consistency in terms of how you format your date. In Malaysia, we always start with date, month, and year. So make sure that it's consistent throughout. Because sometimes there are countries that their date format is a bit different. So that is something that you also have to be, careful of. Alright? And then lastly, in terms of punctuation, alright, one of the things that is that I remember the most is in terms of consistent full stop. Sometimes when we look at the deck, some people they prefer to not have full stop at all in their deck. So make sure that there's no full stop. If let's say you decided that okay, I'm going to put full stop, everything must put full stop, right? And then cases also need to be consistent. If let's say your title has like probably all small cases or sentence case, make sure that it's consistent. If let's say you have like only at the beginning you have uppercase, then use that. Alright. Anything else that I might miss in terms of standardization, Sarah?
No, I think you got it all. I think on the note on the full stop, my preference is to not have a full stop because this reduces noise.
Yeah.
So like it looks cleaner, but it really depends on the
Because
manager.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really depends on that. I know like Jason doesn't like it. He calls it more.
Okay.
normal somehow. Okay, sorry. Yeah, but otherwise, this is. I think, and also I think the language and writing style. I think maybe people tend to underestimate that.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
so don't underestimate it.
Yeah, especially if you were to present it to like corporate comms,
Yeah.
they will highlight,
Yeah.
oh, it's not consistent and all. So it's make sure that we cover our asses first.
Yeah.
Make sure everything is standardized, consistent before we share to them. And also, I want to emphasize that it's very, very important for us to double check our work, make sure that everything is consistent. If let's say you feel that you've looked at it for 10 times, give it to someone else to double check it for you, because it's better for it to be picked up by your internal team rather than it being picked up by your client. And I've experienced that before. We've really shared like, oh, Puan, this is it, and then suddenly, oh, English ni tak consistent lah, malu sudah. Alright? Okay, so with that, it's the end of our first segment. So just to recap, first thing first, use master slide to make sure that you have a cohesive and professional look throughout your presentation, and then also make sure that your alignment is all consistent, and lastly, make sure that everything is standardized, your language, writing style, cases, bullet points and whatnot. Okay? Any questions so far? Alright, so I think we can take a 10 minutes break just to let you to process all the information, and then we can come back around 11:05 minute. English 11:05. Yeah, we will cover structure as well as visuals. Alright,
Thanks, Amani. Can I borrow your charger?
go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go check on my video. And I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll just leave it here.
ask you to like, is it or his Mazman? I think his freelance a bit like
I don't remember. Okay lah. So not officially any project, but it's OJT. Good.
hopefully can lead the project after the OJT lah.
Nowadays also I feel that it's quite difficult to make a project, right?
Have you got a project in Binti?
We have a few in pipelines, but it's all pending like confirmation from the management of our client. Like which will be next week. So only know like after that also. So yeah, I mean so far we have two Malaysian clients. They are also trying to win MBSP as well.
So I was like quite confused. I still don't know which one. But they won't charge. I think we can be one that charge by you too, right?
Oh yeah lah. Let me check where mention that. Whether it's considered a contribution. Oh yeah, because technically you charge. That's true. So
In this case, I raise again again lah. But then can you cancel the other one?
let me check whether I can cancel that or not. No, I'm starting to think like about my performance as well. That's fine. No, because she will help us with the MB. We should charge this lah. But because like for 1 day, 2 days event, 3 days event, 4 days event, 4 days event. Is it considered as performance or is it considered as under contribution snapshot? Because
It's still right.
Uh-huh.
Etc. So you will be assessed for those 4 days. So my video upstairs, I'm uploading it straight to YouTube. So no, I reduced it too. So I don't know what's the issue here. I don't know issue. So I think my understanding is it's a 2-hour video, 1 2-hour video. I have to upload once because it's a YouTube, right? But Swendy was like, oh, is it? You upload 3 times, like the 30 minutes. 30 minutes ice breaking and then 1.5 hours of the content and then 30 minutes at the end. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't think about 3 different videos. I just thought of 1 video only. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm already uploading it to YouTube right now.
all 2 hours is it? Or is it 1
2 hours and 19 minutes. Or once I transition lah. So what? If I say just put in like the description in the description box. Like this minute to this minute is what? This minute to this minute is what? So that's it. So that's what she said. So I hope that it uploads lah because I've now this So if there's an issue now, after later I wouldn't have to split it.
Okay. Two. I thought three.
Three lah, three. Yeah. Ada je buat kat YouTube yang 2-3 jam.
Serius tak?
Ada. Like I saw on an Excel training. It was like 2 hours or something. And I watch movies on YouTube that's like even longer than that. So I don't know. It'll finish at 11:10. That's okay. I cannot play the computer because the internet is only working for 12 long.
Oh.
Because it's a gas computer, so I'm not using Deloitte's thing. I'm using Deloitte gas. So they give me the password, but the password is only for level 12.
What does Zoom cover other than all those like learning or
Training. I think probably send it over email.
Oh, okay.
So next week I'll just do the training plans. And then I don't know what else we need to upload to be honest.
Okay. Kita ni apa exam?
So we should know this Amanie. We can ask Dino.
Dean, right?
Yeah, Dino. Ini tak tahu.
Yeah.
I tak tahu. Sebab I mean macam memang I tak tahu pasal. But I was thinking of going to Taiwan lah. Then cabut lah at 5 o'clock.
Oh.
But macam mana nanti? I don't know.
I'm not going. My coach asked me. Who's your coach? Ask me macam whether I'm going. Maksudnya ni.
And then what did he say when you say that?
Okay, see you next week.
Interesting.
Check my equipment, making sure that it's recording at the right angle.
It looks good though. I think because your room's smaller.
Yeah.
Where do you stay, Brian?
Cheras.
Okay. How do you come here?
Mati.
MRT. How long does it take?
About 1.5.
1.5 hours? Okay. Do you have to change? Do you have to change?
No, just take bus to MRT and from MRT to MRT.
Okay lah. I take MRT. Well, I don't live near an MRT line. So I have to take LRT then change. So I drive. The nearest MRT to me is Taman Tuan, and that requires me to drive.
Okay, right on time. Alrighty. So before we move to our next segment, right? Let's do a bit of energizer to test on our attention and our energy. Okay? Let me just. Oh, I found my clicker already.
Where?
It was there.
Wait, where's my clicker? My clicker's gone.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's in my ear.
Bye. Don't worry, don't worry. Okay, let me just touch the clicker first. Yep. There you go. Okay, so again, let's do a bit of energizer. So I think James Fan is familiar with this game because it's one of the games that we actually play with our client. This is a simple one. It's a quick game inspired, but no worries, I won't ask you to run around or whatnot. You just have to sit, but you just have to clap.
Okay.
Okay, when I say one, you clap once. When I say two, you clap twice.
Okay.
You have to clap basically based on the numbers that I will be announcing lah. Alright? Okay, so are you all ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna do 3 rounds.
Okay.
3. Are you sure, Bara? Alright, 5. Okay. 7. Okay, we're good? Are you sure that's 7?
Yeah, so
Okay, because this is Friday, I believe you won't laugh on Friday, right? Okay, alright. So let's continue our session for today. So the next area that I mentioned earlier, right, on what makes a good slide is in terms of structure. So it's all about how we organize our information to make sure that it's logically structured, so that our audience can get the idea, it's clear, it's structured, and also easy for us to follow. Alright? Okay, so why is it important? First, like I mentioned, it's easy for your audience to follow. So as you present, they know like which to look at in your slide. Alright? And also it is to reduce cognitive load. What it means by this is that when they look, they can terus dapat all the information. They don't have to analyze like, oh, when to look, what information are they trying to say? You know, like that meme with all those mathematical, what do you call this, floaties. So it also for the convenience of our audience. And then lastly is also to help us to be consistent in terms of our storytelling. Alright, so here are some examples of how a good flow or good structure slide look like. As you can see, there's a clear header, clear category, and then you can follow the structure. Oh, we're talking about global insurance company. This is about their identity, this is about their values, and this is how they live their values every day. Okay, let's move on to Filipino bank and so on. Alright? So there are various ways for us to structure our content. So in today's session, I'm going to share with you 3. So the first one is what we call as the pyramid principle. Alright? So what it means by this is that we will start off our slide with the main message. So we start with the key takeaways first, or the answer first. Alright? And then followed by a high level supporting points, which are the key argument to support our main message. And then lastly, we reinstate or reinforce our notion or our argument with data, case studies, as well as explanations, right? So how does this principle look like in a slide? So as you can see here, an example is about Microsoft excavating their identity so that they can rediscover their purpose, rediscover what made them Microsoft, right? So that's the main message. So Microsoft looked back to excavate their identity. It's all about rediscovering what made them a challenger, learning from the past, the present, and also the people. Alright? That's the key takeaway. And then to support this key message, the main message, we have high-level supporting points, which are the headers that are in these 4 colors. Alright? It's all about going back to their history. It's about the growth mindset, rediscovering their challenger identity, and also learning from competitors. And then to support this to support these sub points, there are some stories to explain all of this, okay, to reinforce their argument. So this is very useful, especially when you present this to the executive team, because they want to be able, when they look at the deck, they know what we are going to share. Because we don't want to bore them with all this detail first, only then like, oh, this is our conclusion. Okay? Alright. The next principle is SCQA framework. Alright? So what does it mean by SCQA framework? So it's all about situation, complication, question and answer. So when can we use this format? It's for problem solving. Why is it problem solving? Okay, we look at the problem part, which is situation and complication. When we talk about situation, it's all about establishing the context. What is the reality nowadays? What is the current state? Alright? And then we talk about the complication. Now that we understand this is the current state, what are the challenges that comes with its current state? So we're creating some tension with that. And then we go to the solving part, which is the question and answer part. So with this reality, with these challenges that is happening right now, what do we need to solve? What is the key issue here actually? And then this is where we provide the solution. Alright? So how does this principle look like in a slide? Okay. So, as much as we want to cram all this information in one slide, but it will be very wordy and also difficult for our audience to read. So what we did was that we separated into 2 slides, but in 2 very distinct themes. So in first slide is all about problem. Okay, this is the situation that this company is experiencing. Okay, these are some of the challenges, and these are the complications that you're experiencing. So how can we help you to solve this? Which is through the second slide. So this is where we talk about, oh, okay, we are transitioning from where you are today to a challenger mindset, which is the answer to your challenge. Right? That's the second principle. Another third principle that is commonly used is what we call as MISI. Alright? Mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. That's like the consulting way of saying is how you divide your content and categorize it. Okay? So what we mean by mutually exclusive, meaning that there's no overlap in terms of the category that you come up with. And what does it mean by collectively exhaustive? It means that it covers all the points without missing any of the key areas. Alright? So as I said, it's all about categorization, right? So let us do some activity a bit, okay? So I want you to categorize these words. So you have HR policy, recruitment, cost reduction, innovation, brand awareness, employee training, marketing, okay? I'm not providing you any header or whatnot, just come up with it, but your header should be able to categorize all this. Okay. Another rule of thumb before we go with this activity is that what my coach told me, anything that's more than 5, it needs to be categorized. Okay? Because when you categorize, it also shows you the ability for you to be able to break down complex issue into simpler manner for you to explain to people. So that's why it's important for you also to have this skill to be able to identify the category and categorize them accordingly. Alright? So let us do this activity for about 5 minutes. You have paper in the middle, so you can write down, create your category and categorize all these words into those categories. Alright?
You know, you see category. What? How many categories are there? Or just have to?
Up to you. Okay, so based on from this, how many categories can you come up with? Alright? Please don't use ChatGPT, yeah?
No, no, okay, I won't. I'm just putting on words, okay?
Okay, can you see?
I can see.
What's the term? Five syllables? Is it?
Sorry? 5 syllables?
Yeah.
Up to you. If you feel there's 5 categories, do it. Write it down. You can discuss if you want to discuss, no worry, there will be like individual evaluation, like, oh, you know. You can also discuss as a group as well.
fundamental analysis, innovation, customer research, customer service, and market research, and others. Just others.
Yeah.
Although it depends on what we're doing. Okay, I'm done.
Alright.
What do you guys think?
1 minute to go. Don't worry.
The others, so I was also unsure if the others can fit in each of these or separately.
I want to say market research can go into marketing. Like, I would probably do that.
Yeah, I should do that. But
Is that now? Okay, wait.
Alright, shall we?
Okay, Michelle. Here. Where's my thing? Oh, here. Put it back.
Okay. So what do you have?
I've got talent, I've got costings, I've got marketing and others.
Okay. So what's under each category?
Talent is HR policies, recruitment, employee training, costings, budget, revenue, pricing, cost reduction, profit margin, sales. Under marketing, I've got marketing strategy, I've got social media, I've got advertising, brand awareness, and under others is competitor analysis, innovation, customer service, and market research. Although I'm contemplating to put customer market research under marketing.
Alright, thanks Sarah. What about you, Bar?
Similar to her, but I just have one product development. I put innovation and then market research.
Okay. Alright, thank you. What about you, Mugat?
yeah, just like Sarah's.
Similar to Sarah's. Okay, what about you, Jungshin?
I think similar, but I label the cost reduction, pricing, revenue, profit margin, budget under finance.
Alright. Are you from finance before this? Okay, alright. Okay, so basically the idea is that making sure that when we categorize things, it's clear not only to us but also to our audience. So when we categorize it, we could categorize it accordingly and it's intentionally, not just simply for the sake of categorizing. Right? So the right answer, or I wouldn't say the right answer, the best answer would be there's four sorry about that. There's four category. Got it right? Sorry about that. We have finance, we have HR, but Sarah you said talent, right? Can lah, boleh lah, sama lah. And then we have marketing and sales as well as customer experience. Okay. Right. So like I said, there's certain consultancy whereby they have a rigid categorization, number of categorization. If I'm not mistaken, like McKinsey or is it Bain, they said that you only need 3 categories or 3 key points. So for with Deloitte, I don't think there's like a fixed number as long as you categorize it correctly. Okay, so that is in terms of structure. In the next slide, what we're going to discuss is in terms of visual flow. Alright, so what we meant by visual flow is all about how do we guide the eyes of our audience to read our slide. Okay, so there are 2 patterns when it comes to visual flow. So one is the F pattern. So F pattern is basically when you read it from left to right, because usually we read like from we would read it from right to left, right, technically. Okay, so read it from right to left, and then you will go down like and it will form that F word. Okay. Alright. So how do you make sure that this is the right pattern for you to structure or to arrange your information? So this is when you have a text-heavy slide, reports or web page, and then also it works well if you have a detailed content. And as you can see from the example here, right, there's so many information that you're trying to convey from this slide. So that's why F pattern is the best way for us to structure the information. Alright. So another pattern that people will also consider is the Z pattern. So what do we mean by Z pattern? Basically, you start from this Fiesta launch up till the Navigator game, and then you go back to on-the-go learning up to behavior nudges. So when can we use this pattern arrangement? Is when you want to put more images and it's more for minimal kind of look, alright? Because you really want to evoke people's emotion through those images, alright? And then it works really well when you have when you use it for presentation or for storytelling. Okay, are we clear so far? Any question? Alright. So another way for us to also help guide, our audience eye movement is by guiding them through some of the technique or some of how we portray or how we show our information. So for instance, in all the slides that you created, you will make sure that consistently you will have headlines first on top. Because why? When they look at the slide, they know that okay, the first thing I will look is the headlines on the top. Because sometimes if you look at Pinterest, right, they would have headlines on the left, headlines on the right. People will look like that this Squid Game girl searching for people, what is that, green light, red light? So we don't want that to happen. So consistently headline first, so people know where to look at first place. Or you can also use some cues where you use arrows, you use lines or numbers, so that people can easily follow the flow of the content that you are putting in that slide. Or another way is also to use animation. So you reveal information step by step. Okay, let's start with listening tour first. Once we're done with listening tour, only then we will flesh out the next content. Alright, so this is not basically to also protect our audience from being overwhelmed by the information that we're sharing with them. Okay, so now, as usual, we're going to have our structuring challenge. So as you can see, I can see from Sarah's face, it's like, what is this? Okay, I know it's very text heavy, alright? So the challenge is that, how do you structure this information based on the principle that we have shared? Okay, so for this one, you can use ChatGPT. It will be also interesting to see like how you use the prompts and what sort of responses will come up from that. But the outcome that we want to achieve from here is that understanding your thought process when you decipher this key message, this content, and arrange those so that your audience can follow your story.
Is this all in one slide?
Up to you. If you feel that you need 2 slides, go ahead. Alright. But ideally, when we talk about the numbers of slides also, it's best to keep one idea for 1 slide. Alright. So all good? Okay. So you will be given 20 minutes for you to work on this. So just use the activities deck. Keep building on your section. And also at the end of this activity, I would love to hear your thought process including about that structure process. Okay? Alright.
This is restarting something in a minute.
Alright, Sarah. All the time, right?
No, it told me to do it yesterday, but I didn't.
So you would see this, all these steps in the activity slide. It is in slide, I wish that this big screen is touch screen. It is in slide 2, alright? Just copy paste, put in ChatGPT. Okay. you have more time, you can continue with the first assignment. you are preparing, and trying to reflect or think about how you're gonna structure your information, just sharing some of like how I would structure my information. First is focusing on the principles I've shared, the 3 principles. Don't look at the visuals or how you're gonna present the information. It's all about putting in the right content first. So for instance, like, okay, you put in ChatGPT, there's some ideas, okay, you see the flow, alright, and then test the flow. So how do you test the flow? It's all about trying to present it. Practice presenting. Because when you verbalize it and practice presenting, that's when you realize that whether it makes sense or not. Sometimes when you just look on the slide, you don't verbalize it, it looks okay, but once you start to verbalize your content, that's when you will see some gaps that you can address accordingly. And also in the past, my boss would always ask me, what's my thought process? So that this is to ensure that we don't data dump. What do you mean by data dump? Just simply put it for the sake of like, put it nicely, but then it doesn't have any meaning or any story to it.
So you're saying see the flow first before you visualize it, right?
Betul. Because kadang-kadang, you already work on the visuals, you put really beautiful data, and then suddenly, it doesn't make sense lah, then you have to revamp.
Yeah, that's true. That's us going into solutioning mode, right? I was just telling these people, don't go into solutioning mode. Sometimes I do that too. Okay, my PowerPoint is finally back.
Alright.
So do we just arrange it for now, right? So find the flow first, right?
Yeah. Or you can use ChatGPT to help you to also start, reducing some of the words because it's very text heavy, right?
Okay.
How do you make sure that we really show like what we discussed earlier?
Should
Understanding the
I-
audience.
Already put it in slides or
Yeah, put it in
like
slides.
the flow, no visuals?
No visuals, yeah. If sempat can put visual, can. Kalau tak sempat, it's okay. Just put the flow first. Cut out anything, any information that you feel is not relevant.
because we share the flow.
11:50.
11:50.
Put in the activity then. I'm gonna X section under your name, so make sure that you put your work under your section, huh? Okay.
How many meeting rooms are there on level 1?
Sure.
Okay.
Right. Good, good.
I feel like my guide eye matchy.
Yeah.
Right?
Like around that blue color palette, right?
But my guide should have one complete set. I judge you. I don't know what the college resolution. What should I call it? The challenge? What do we say? I don't like. Or you know what? I don't want strategic priorities because we don't know.
Alrighty. No worries if it's not done. But what we want to be able to hear from you is that how do you structure your content based on the principle that we have shared? And then also if let's say you manage to put it in a proper slide, what's the visual flow looks like? How do you want to guide your audience, right? So just before we start our sharing, just want to share a bit of like a what do you call this? Some real life experience, right? So this is usually what happened as a consultant sometimes, like when you attend an interview, you are interviewing your C-levels, or probably you are in an FGD, focus group discussion. People would just blurt out everything, pow, 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 pow. So you're just taking notes. And with that notes, then you have to start understanding, okay, what's the structure look like? Is there any key themes that you can categorize? Or is there a flow from the inputs that you have gathered? so that you can put it in a slide properly and present it well. Alright, so that when you share back, the key insights or key inputs that you gathered from your target group, let's say discussion, it's easy for your it's easy for your C-level to understand, some of the key themes or key feedback given by the employees. Okay, so imagine like this heavy text exercise that I gave is like your notes. Okay, so how do we convert it into a slide, right? Okay, so let's hear from Sarah first. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, share with us your thought process, how you structure this, the information given.
So when I was reading the prompt or the unstructured information, I was trying to see what is the actual problem and then what we can do about it. And then I kind of analyze it and then categorize it, similar to how we categorize like the MISI, is to categorize it into what is the problem, is there a data point to that problem, and then what are some of the actions that are going to be taken for that particular problem, and summarize it in the key message that I have on slide 10. So there is a decline in revenue and there is a decline in retention because there's increased competition. So because that's the problem and because of that we want to strengthen all of the different avenues to make sure that we can personalize the offers. So I've structured it that way, starting with the challenge and then the solution.
Okay. So team, what Sarah has put here, correct me Sarah if I'm wrong. So you start off key message, which is basically a summary or an overview of what you're going to share in slide 11 and 12. And then based on what you analyze from the text that I've given to you, you divide it into two slides, which is the challenge and also strategic priorities. Alright, so this is one of the way actually for us to share the information. Some people may prefer to have everything in one slide. Some people would prefer like, okay, after one slide, maybe they want to get some reaction. So that's why they focus only one content per one slide. So for instance, like here, okay, imagine like after you have already shared with the executive the challenges that's happening, right? And then you want to get reaction from your executive. Okay, what's your reaction? Do you agree with what we have put in here, alright? And then we share strategic priorities and then we get their reaction again to our inputs, right? So that's one of the ways to structure it. And I believe this is sort of like a SCQA framework, right? The challenge is basically the reality, the context, and then the answer to for us to address those contexts is through the strategic priorities.
I also wanted to point out that the key message, I actually didn't come up with that first. I just put the slide first because thinking of visualizing it later, that will be the first thing I want to share when I'm sharing with the audience. But in terms of how my thought process goes, it was slide 11 and 12 first before I came up with slide 10.
So
I just arranged it that way in the deck.
Okay. Alright, cool. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. Megat, would you like to share yours?
Okay. So I haven't finished the second slide.
It's a really good activity. So now what we're doing is to transform this heavy just share with you another resource that you can also explore, but I'm not sure in terms of like the number of downloads that you can download from their web page, but this is what we call as flat icon. So it's a place where you can get all the icons here. There's different types of icons that you can use for your deck. So for instance, that you want to talk about, let's say, learning. So it will give you range of icons that you can use. But then again, because I have free pick, so that's why it comes together with flat icon. Another convenient thing about this is that similar to free pick, you don't have to download it. You can just copy and paste. Again, will save up your computer data or computer storage. But I think those who doesn't have subscription, I think they can download up to like 3, 4, 5 icons. I'm not sure about that. Yeah. But another trick also is to go to Google and just type certain icon that you're looking at, and then PNG. Yeah. Or just use PowerPoint. Thanks. Alright, no worries.
Let's go.
5 minutes to go.
Yeah, you're making me want to use AI now, Gina. Basically, I won't. I already know I want.
You can use AI.
Key insights, key customer insights. Okay, that's my title.
Alright, 1 more minute to go. Just put in your slide once ready. 5. Let's put in all your work in the activity deck. Alright, thank you, James one. Okay, alright, Vara, you put in yours. Sarah, I assume you're gonna be the judge together with me.
I still can put mine actually.
Siap ready.
I don't know. Wait, is this, you know, when you like, you want it to work and then technology doesn't want it to work for you?
Yes.
Oh guys, don't be like that. Download, where's my download folder? So I have this already.
Okay. Alright, so I shall stop the music. Okay. So before we go into sharing by each one of you, another way that I will also that will help me also to create a visually appealing slide is go to AI and just give them, okay, I need you to generate an image to show how you're going to present this information. So sometimes AI, you just ChatGPT, right? And then the ChatGPT will generate an image and it will suggest you, some of the design. But to be honest, because it's ChatGPT, right? Sometimes AI is not reliable in the sense that they will mash up all the words and whatnot. But it is a good starter for you to get inspiration on how you want to structure your information, or just putting in visuals to help presenting your ideas. Okay. All right. So let us start with the first one called Farah. Would you like to walk us through your slide?
Yeah, so do you want me to walk through why I choose this, or like?
Yeah.
Okay. So first one is obviously the image one, mobile first experience. So I put mobile there, and then for next one is the social media driven ads. So I want to try for like some charts, and I choose for bar charts. It's also easier, and I look for this design. It's like more minimalist and also like kind of a bit like a simple, but also like a bit like effective. And then the next one is the image for the pricing. I just choose the price tag, which can convey the pricing also.
Okay. Anyone would like to share their feedback first?
I really like the huge icons, images. I think the percentages. I think because the way that we work, percentages are important. I think that in a lot of places that we work, I think not just consulting, but also kind of sharing that number is eye-catchy, and there's some additional stats on the right. I would say to maybe color the percentage a different color just to make it pop out. Otherwise, it's pretty good.
Okay. Jeans, right?
I feel like it's pretty good overall. It's just maybe you can have the key takeaways maybe bottom at the bottom or at another place, or else it's like not too sure how many points that you're bringing up.
Okay. That's a good suggestion. So perhaps key takeaways in a separate space, right? Because the upper part is all about strategies, and then key takeaways is a different idea. So perhaps a different slide or probably a different space dedicated to key takeaways. Okay, that's a good one. Magai, what about you? Any suggestion?
Yeah,
So same as what all of you has shared. I agree with you, Megat, because Ara, for social media driven ads is also one of the key strategies, right? And what as Megat shared just now, to maintain consistency, make sure that everything is in the same format. As in like if you use here, if you put icon here, so ensure that this point and this point also would have icons. Alright? And then instead of having it, side by side like this, again, remember about what we discussed in terms of visual flow, because now I'm not sure like where to lead my eyes to. Like I'm reading this, but do I go here or do I go there? Alright. So if let's say you want to talk about customer strategies, so probably you can have everything is on the right, okay, and then align mobile all these text box, okay, all these inputs, and then for this one just put another icon. Alright. Perhaps one of the way you can have the strategies here, and then you can have another key takeaway here. So it's clear that okay, on the first part we're talking about your strategies, you have the information here, and then here are the key takeaways. Or another way of doing it, upper part is all the key strategies, and then the bottom part is key takeaways. Yeah. Alright. Okay, good job, Farah. Alright. What about? Let's move on to. Wow. Okay. Let's go, Sarah.
I just wanted to make a point that I agree because clearly it's made me dumb. But
Leverage AI, right?
I'm just saying that you can also get inspiration from what you've mentioned on Gamma if you put in the correct prompts. Now I know content is not key at the moment because we are focusing on visuals, but just putting in some prompts to make sure the prompt is to ensure a visual putting slide based on these context. These are what the slides came out with, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, it is actually.
Very visually appealing. Obviously, the images are AI generated, so you can see when it's AI generated. So I would not choose that as an image unless your topic is about AI, then maybe it's different. So I would probably just change. But I think this one can very quickly give you an idea how you can arrange your data points for whatever topic. So if you scroll down, you can just, that's too much slices, let's be fair. So like, these kinds of things are, I think, useful just to point out the important stats that these are the only things that you need to know. You just need to know these are the important stats. So yeah, I thought that it would be useful just to get a feel of what your site that might look like. Keeping it to the vehicles, right?
Okay, no worries. So thank you, Sarah, for sharing this. So Gamma also is one of a platform where you can check. It helps you to create a PowerPoint deck for you, but you have to put in some prompts and then just validate some of the suggestions they gave, because it's sort of like a combination with ChatGPT as well, right? They will suggest what sort of like inputs you can put in the slides. Alright, so I mean it's by AI, right? So overall it does look visually appealing, but for slide 16, what could have been better for slide 16 is to put probably a circle, to emphasize the key message of like 75%, 3%, 67%, right? Because now everything it looks like, okay, you have visuals on the top, but everything looks quite flat, like there's nothing to be highlighted, other than just like the font size, right? But other than that, that's good. We think efficiently.
Because there's no time, guys.
There's no time, exactly. Oh wow, this is like a whole deck already, babe.
I think so. I just feel that you need, if you go with it, AI has to be your friend, I think, and don't rely on it. But you can already get very quick suggestions on how it's like look like. And I think, I don't know, Amanie and I have worked with each other for quite a while. We like slides with pictures like this, like
on the side,
and then you have your content on the left, and that's just the way that we like to put our slides. And if you look at one of our slides, you'll probably see most of this. So that's what I prompted in the process. It depends on the prompt that you guys put in. But yeah.
Alright, thank you so
Thanks,
much for
Amanie.
sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go with James Wan.
Alright. Okay. So, mine, to be honest, I forgot that I'm supposed to put the icons chart in initially. So when I realized it was like too late to do so, but then I just managed to put in the chart. Then I realized it doesn't suit that well. You know?
Okay.
Although
It's
I
always
check-
like that. It's always
yeah.
like that.
So maybe if I got time, I might change it to other type of not chart. I mean maybe icons to show the difference between the percentage, and then to emphasize on the numbers. But then I think, yeah, maybe it's of the bolded text in the paragraph. So those maybe I can put some insights from sorry from the text as well lah. But I never go through it because yeah it took up some of the time just now.
Anyone would like to share their feedback?
I think I like the icons. I think my only issue with that is the colors orange and blue can be a bit confusing. So like
Like which one is 60%?
yeah,
Which one
basically,
is
yeah.
That's fair.
Otherwise visually I think it's fine.
I think what I usually do, we probably gray out the ones that
Yeah.
it's not 75%.
Yeah.
Right? So in this case, the blue one is 75%, right? And the orange one is
21.
like not the dead one that we want to
Mhm.
look at, but it seems like orange one because it's more striking color.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I think the text as well can be reduced. Yeah.
Alright, anything from you?
For me also okay lah, but then maybe can just emphasize on more lah, image based and content. Then
So I think in terms of how you present data is still effective because you want to emphasize a number and you use the graph, right? It's still okay. But what I would improve, like Sarah said, right? We gray out. Or probably if you use like blue color, let's say because the theme, the color palette that you're using, so probably you can use dark blue here and then a very light blue for the smaller part or the percentage that's not being shown lah. So basically 60% is where you have the more striking color or darker color, alright? And then another thing is in terms of contrast. Okay, if you look at your background is grey and then the text that you use is white. So probably people up to Megat can see it, but probably people behind them, behind Megat, won't be able to see it. So another thing that you need to keep in mind is in terms of color and contrast. Okay, alright, last one, Megat. Thank you, James Wan. Great job for this one as well. So, okay, go ahead.
Alright. It's the wrong order. So I wanted to, I guess, the story that I wanted to show was basically the outcomes of the survey feedback. So what I did was show an icon of a survey first, just to kind of highlight that this is, you know, the feedback from the survey. And then the key statistics I showed using that pie. The decreasing intensity of each color is to show, although they are all important statistics, maybe it's to show if they have limited budget or like a resource allocation, then it is better to focus on the higher percentage of like so. Although it would be ideal to focus on all three aspects, if they have limited resources, then might as well focus on the 75% statistic rather than the 40%. And I just included a box recommendation down there, just to tie everything back up.
Alright, good. It's simple and it's minimalistic. Anyone would like to share any feedback, anything that works well, anything that can be improved?
This is a clean slide.
Yeah.
I would appreciate a slide like this. I think a lot of our team members would also appreciate a slide like this. No, I think it's good. It has like headings, subheadings. It has. I think that maybe, I don't know if I'm being picky on it. You put the sample of 6,200, whatever, and make it more obvious, so that people know like, oh, what is the 75% out of 75% out of the 6,000 surveys that you have done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there? Alright, James.
I think it's very good. Just the chart on it's like decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
So it might like give like when you don't see the content it might give like a negative or is it something getting bad like that one.
Oh.
Or when you read it's like oh okay it's supposed
That's
to
a
be.
good point. I never
Yeah.
see it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jinjuan?
I think it's overall very good. Yeah, but I don't see any issue with it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So for me, I agree with what Sarah said. Probably I would make this bigger because this is considered like, for the lack of better word,
Unnecessary lah.
waste of space. Yeah.
Waste
What-
of real estate.
Yes, yes, exactly. So probably what you can make it, what we can do to make it more impactful, maybe you can show like images of people and then make it blue. Because you said that you like to put like a box in front of an image, right? And then you have survey responses and then you put like big bolded 6239 survey takers.
Oh yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Big numbers.
Right?
Big numbers are something that I feel like I've never really utilized properly.
Mhm.
Didn't get a chance to do that. Maybe in our reports,
Yeah.
we have big numbers, but yeah, anyway, I like big numbers.
Right. So that's one of the way that, so what we want to learn from here is that, you know, we must be intentional with the space that we use. This is like because we don't have any information, right? Imagine you have a lot of information. So every spaces like Farah said, right, we have to utilize it properly, make it meaningful. Okay. So with that, okay. So I hope you learned some things from this exercise and can apply after this. Okay. Alright, so just to conclude this segment, so some of the key takeaways is that as much as we can, if we can replace our text with visuals, go for it. There's many types of visuals that you can use to emphasize or to reinforce the story. And then also remember, follow visual hierarchy. If let's say there's some information or some key messages that you want to emphasize, use elements like size, color, contrast, alright, so that you can guide people to focus their attention on that certain information. And then most importantly, yes, we do have all this visual, but still make sure that it's simple enough and also easy for people to read our information. Okay? So, we have reached the end of our workshop today. So before we go, I just want to test on your understanding throughout our session today. It's been 4 hours. And thank you so much for making the time and also maintaining your focus throughout. So just want to test your understanding and what you remember from this session. So we're going to recap one by one. So each one of you have to share what you remember from each, each segment. Okay, Sarah, start with you first.
Standardization language, to make sure whether it's US or UK. In terms of alignments, formatting, whether there's a period or not, and font sizes and font type. And the third one is, what? Alignment? Language. Yeah, good.
Cool, thank you. What about you, Bharat? What do you remember in terms of structure or visuals?
For structure, mainly I remember what I take as important was the pyramid, then the SCQA, and another one is the MECE to actually see how we can structure the message we want to put into the slides, and then followed by the visual, which means after we put the structure, how the visual, whether the F pattern or the Z pattern, can ensure that we can make it as like flow, as like people can understand by the way they are looking at it.
Alright, cool. Thank you so much. What about you, James? In terms of visual?
In terms of visual, I think getting those visual add like chart, icon helps to reduce the text heavy part, and then we can get more information from the visual aids. And then apart from that was like the color. We have to make it like if we have the color code there, then we try to follow the color code and then use the color to emphasize like just what Amanie share colors, share, yeah, all this.
Alright, cool. Thank you. Alright, Mugat, you're gonna do the grand closing. Alright, So thank you so much everyone for sharing that, and I'm glad that it's some of the information sticks, and I hope it's something that you can apply moving forward. So before we go, I would also love to hear what's your aha moment from today. Like, oh, I've never thought of that before. Alright, let's start with you, Magat.
Actually, the most recent feedback about the survey, superimposing like words on a picture. I think that was like my biggest aha moment, mainly because I've always thought it's best and standard practice to separate photos and pictures. But if used properly, realistic, like you mentioned, you can always put both elements together, putting words on pictures, and drive a more meaningful message as well. So I think I'll definitely apply that moving forward. Yeah.
Alright, what about you, Bara?
For me, the biggest aha moment for today was witnessing Sarah's work. So even though like when you want to present like do a slide, it's not like you are tied to all the elements that only available in the PowerPoint. So like today we see from Sarah, she could do from scratch in the first task. She can do all the box, do the whole editing, and next task she also showed to us we can also rely on AI, how we can generate some ideas. It's like in the first one maybe there's no content, it's basically only for design, and next when we go for content maybe we don't have any idea how to present it, how to structure it, so we can seek for AI's help, and then from AI we don't like nearly copy it, or almost we can like inspire by it and create a new design, and that's how like we can like combine together like technology but also our own individual creativity and all that.
Yeah. Alright. I think at this point of time, everything is in very fast paced. People want deliverables like now. So we really have to be smart with all the resources that we have. Use ChatGPT, use Pinterest, use past proposals, and just what you call this, reuse it and put in our content. What about you, Jingshan? What's your aha moment from today?
Yeah, I feel like the one Sarah used, the gamma one, was like quite amazing. I was like quite shocked because it was within a short period, then you can come up with so many slides. Yeah, I think that one was like a very good resources that we can really utilize in the future. And then apart from that was the master slide. I feel like because I don't really use master slide apart from certain because I always have to put the copyright.
Yeah.
So apart from that, I never really been using that. But then now I realized it was so helpful if I want to standardize my format and then all that stuff.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay, what about you, Sarah?
I was also going to mention about master slides, and sometimes spending some time just making sure the framing of the slides are right in the beginning can help you later on when you are formatting, because formatting can take a really long time, slide by slide, and as humans we're probably going to miss a couple of things, and I have missed many things, and to take the time to really structure your master slides before you're sharing it with anyone, and have only one person do it, not multiple person. And when you copy paste from other slides, that you copy to, that means if you use a master slide, you don't keep formatting, right? You just paste it out, right? Yeah. So I think it will just help. So it's a reminder for me, but also making sure that we actually put our attention on the master slides because they can be very useful.
Yeah. Just to add to that, right? When you're working on like less than 10 slides, it's still bearable. You can just copy and paste. But imagine if you have to work on like 170 pages of slide, and it happened to both of us before. And then because we didn't have a standardized master slide, it's really painful process for us to realign everything.
Yeah.
So master slide is very important that people often overlooked it.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for sharing that. So before we go, just a bit of a reminder to make sure that you can apply all this knowledge moving forward. So in this process, when I work with analysts especially and also interns, right, they always struggle in terms of coming up with a beautiful slide. But bear in mind, the reason why Sarah and I can do it is because we've been doing this for 8 years. So don't compare ourselves to yourself. because you just started understanding how you can structure the information. Also be kind to yourself if you feel that you did some certain slide and then suddenly a consultant will come in and then try to tweak your design. Okay, but take from there and also learn, okay, so this is how I formatted before, this is how I designed it before, and this person did it like this. Okay, so study from that. Always look at your past slide, identify how we can improve, continuously improve. Apply some of the principles that I've shared with you, MEC, pyramid thinking, SEQA. Again, like all of you also said about master slide, so really use that to make sure consistency. And then for consistency, make sure that font, colors, language and all is uniform throughout the deck. Use images to emphasize your key messages, and also very important for us as a consultant, always share your work to others to get feedback. It's not only for your own self-improvement, but also to catch any things that you might have missed out, alright, in terms of consistency, alignment, etc. Alright. So with that, I'm gonna. Do you have any questions so far?
No.
Alright. All good. So if there's no question, I'm still available like after this session if you want to test out some of your slide with me, how can I improve this further and all, and then we can together try to work out something. We're more than happy to do that. And I'm just going to leave you with a words of wisdom. If you feel that you need to justify your slide with sorry for the busy slide, just delete it, because it means that your slide, the way you present your information is not effective. Alright? So with that, thank you so much everyone. Happy building your BD slides. Thank you so much for your engagement, attention and all. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. That was fun.
What class? Awesome class.
Is it better than the one, of course, right? The one that we had in Europe.
They have their own strengths and charms.
Okay.
Very consultant.